Richard Goldstein is one of our speakers today from Ambassadors of Compassion. He is a registered investment advisor associated with the B. Riley Wealth and manages a boutique wealth management practice, serving high net worth individuals, family offices, and institutions, and it's based in Livermore. He has been serving the financial needs of clients for over 40 years. Furthermore, he is a member of the Livermore Rotary Club, so making a difference in our communities. And he is a current member of the board overseeing vocational services and the past president and board member of the Rotarian Foundation of Livermore. He's been an active member for over 35 years, and he's currently the co-chair of the Rotary District 5170 Ambassadors of Compassion Partnership. Also with him today is Eric Hanna, and he is the founder and chief executive officer of Ambassadors of Compassion, and also just learned he is a new Rotarian, just joined Rotary, so thank you. Fremont Bridge, representing Fremont Bridge, and he is a film and television director and producer and was the place kicker on the University of Colorado's national championship team. He's pretty cool. There's a lot more bio, but I think Eric might hit on some of this when he gets up to talk a little bit. But I'd like to invite Rich to come on up and start this presentation off for us. So please welcome Rich Goldstein to the stage on Ambassadors of Compassion. Thank you.
Good afternoon. What an honor and a great pleasure to be here today. Thank you, Jenny. A lot of thanks to District 5150, to the Belmont Club. This was just a wonderful opportunity that developed as we shared our program that we really kicked off this last year and a half in Livermore Valley. So I just thought I'd just briefly introduce my story as a Rotarian, and how this ambassadors program came to bear a partnership with Rotary. So a couple years ago, I got a phone call from a dear friend and client, and he said, "Rich, something really big has just happened in my life." I go, "Wow, what happened?" He says, "Rich, I've been looking for years to find something to do for the rest of my life to have impact, give my money and my time, and get that kind of return. Keep talking." So he started telling me about this organization called Ambassadors of Compassion. So I'm quietly listening, and my only thought from the very beginning was, Rotary, wow, this could be a really interesting partnership. So from that call, I immediately went back to my club. We're very blessed in my Livermore Valley Club to have a lot of educators, retired, active, principals, administrators, teachers, and I brought this to them and I said, please, analyze this, evaluate it, let me know what you think. Because I think we might have a chance here to do something in our school system and maybe bigger. So they did, and we went through a very rigorous process of evaluating this whole program, and eventually we all decided, let's go. Let's bring it to the superintendent of schools. And we did. And had this incredible meeting, as most of you have done in your business life. We love you, but. What's the but? Well, the but, Rich, is we love you guys, but, you know, I see this every week. Someone comes in here and tells me they have the greatest thing for our kids. The great thing is, there may be some that are, but we don't have time to even look at them. So he made me one promise. He said, I will look at it. I said, that's fair. I'll wait. So I said, let me make it easy for you. I said, this is Rotary talking. We're not just bringing you an idea, we're bringing you an action. The action is we're going to bring you our people, our resources, and our dedication for success. So just think about that. So the phone rang not too long after, and sure enough, he went out to the principals in our community, and one of the principals raised her hand and said, oh my God, I've been looking for this forever. Bring it on. So we went last year and organized our kickoff, and we all decided this would be kind of like a prototype template for what could be. And this principal, Jeanette Garza, ran the program at our middle school in Livermore, Junction K through 8, and we all concluded that, I think, unanimously, that this was an amazing success. We got to do more. So the word got out in the district, 5170, and our incoming DG, Jill Durig, who's here earlier, got very excited, and the word started to go, and before we know it, we were talking to our whole DG line. And we ended up creating a partnership, an MOU. So we've started to work diligently to spread this opportunity, as you'll learn about today, throughout the Bay Area. While that was happening, we had the great fortune of meeting District 5150 and the leadership, the Belmont Shore Club, and others. And I think there's some really great interest that we are welcoming, and we welcome all of you today to learn about what we think is an outstanding program for our kids. And I'm really thrilled to introduce Eric Hanna, the CEO and founder. Thank you. All right.
Thank you. When I first met Rich, I thought he was a twin because he worked so hard on his business and a great Rotarian. Now I think he's a triplet because what he's doing with Ambassadors of Compassion. Rich, thank you so much. And Jenny, thank you so much. Patricia, thank you so much for allowing us to be here. We appreciate your time. Rotary District 5150 and Ambassadors of Compassion, helping to solve the mental and emotional health crisis facing our youth and students across the Bay Area. And why? Well, because we have 6.3 million students who have a medically diagnosed anxiety disorder. 1 in 3 students now consider suicide every year. 2 million out of 17 million high school students actually attempt suicide every year. 76% of schools are now reporting major mental health issues among students. We're at a tipping point. We're facing one of the greatest challenges of our time, the breakdown of the emotional health of a generation. What is the root cause? There's a lot of speculation on what that might be, but a lot of it has to do with unresolved hurt and pain. According to Millennials Rising, it's the book where all the researchers have come together to talk about what's going on with millennials, centennials, and Gen Z. And they've come together to say this. This is the fact. They say this generation, Gen Z, has a chance to be the greatest, most compassionate generation in history or the most barbaric. It all depends on how they deal with their pain. And we're beginning to see that happen across our country. It ruins, if this generation does not learn to release their hurt and pain, it ruins relationships, leads to self-harm and violence, reduces productivity. Right now, 78%, according to Gallup 2022, employees are disengaged, with 22% of them actively sabotaging the company they work for. That's unresolved hurt and pain. Healthy people don't do that. To make things worse, 75% of Gen Zers have now quit a job because it's too emotionally challenging. And that includes working at McDonald's. Now, I don't know about you, but if I told my dad after McDonald's I'm quitting, he would have put me in the car and sent me right back to McDonald's. But we're at a different time, and if we don't do something quickly, we will have an unrecognizable workforce in the next 7 to 10 years in the Bay Area. California data, 63% of students are now experiencing a mental and emotional meltdown. 50% of the students report needing mental health, and here's where we can do something together. There's only one social worker for 6,000 students here in Northern California, and we're only at the beginning. Now, if we ended it here, it would be pretty sad, but the good news is this. Fortunately, there's a proven antidote. Building mentally and emotionally resilient middle school, high school, and college students will change the heart of a generation. According to experts all across the country like Elizabeth Scott, building emotional resiliency is a trait that can be developed. It's 100% learnable. So in 2010, we launched Ambassadors of Compassion. Ambassadors of Compassion is a scientifically proven emotionally resiliency building program that helps middle school, high school, and college students work through their real-life issues and equips them with the necessary tools to navigate and succeed through life's inevitable challenges. We've had nearly 100,000 students who've gone through the program, and medical professionals and educators have concluded that the Ambassadors program dramatically decreases anxiety, depression, self-harm, and suicidal thoughts, while increasing commitment to learning, grades, school and work engagement again, and so much more. Those of you that like data will love this. Those that you don't, this will be a mental meltdown, but I'm going to go really, really fast. This is our 9th year at University of Alabama. As tracked by the University of Alabama, students with a 3.0 GPA increased their grades by 9.24% over students who did not take the Ambassador Compassion program. Any student with a 2.0 or less increased their grades by 43%. When distraction goes away, focus comes in, purpose comes in, it changes grades along with a lot of other things. Nearly 10,000 students have gone through the program at Santa Ana, down in Orange County, Santa Ana High School and Santa Ana School District. 88% less assertive discipline infractions, 52% less unexcused absences, 37% increase in A's, and a whopping 48% decrease in F's. Out of Calgary, Canada, after they measured students that have taken the program all across the country, Resiliency Institute is the largest organization in the world that measures programs. They measured over 1 million students in programs all around the world to see how effective those programs are in building resiliency and changing lives. They said that the Ambassadors Program is one of the most effective programs they've ever seen after measuring thousands of our students across the country. This is interesting. Before COVID, they said an average of 30% of high school students had low resiliency. Now that number is closer to 50 now. 30%. Then they went on and just said, let me tell you what that means, because we wanted to know what that meant. They said, that means there's an 80% chance they're going to end up in poverty. They don't have the mental, physical, emotional needs to get out. Okay, that number is a lot higher than 30%. Then they went on to say that typically out of all the programs in the world that they measured, less than 2% of the students ever get out of the red. They're just kind of unmovable. And they went on to say, after measuring our students across the country, that students with low resiliency after completing the Ambassador showed a 90% increase in emotional resiliency, with now an 80% chance of them ending up in the middle class. A lot of other data, but I want to leave you with one more. They said 95% increase among students who now know the meaning of forgiveness and how to apply it to their lives. And why is that important? Because researchers say that if you don't learn to forgive, you're 500 times more likely to die by the age of 50 because of the toxins that build up in our body. That's just science. Also, if you don't learn to forgive, when you get triggered or somebody may not agree with you, you'll tend to name, shame, and blame that other person, which divides families, businesses, and eventually a nation. Forgiveness is science, and it's powerful for this generation. So Dr. Hammond, he was on the phone with us when he got this results, and he was also, along with us, was Clark Hunt, owner of the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm sorry. Good news is the 49ers have just partnered with us, so we'll talk about that later. But he said, in my 25 years of working with complex students, the Ambassadors Program is the most positive I've ever seen. It adds a missing component of developing character by developing students from the inside out. Then they went on to say the data shows an increase in resiliency from the program has a direct long-term reduction in homelessness, food insecurity, and crime. And the Ambassadors Program works because it focuses on the root cause, not just the symptoms. If you only focus on the symptoms, it's an endless cycle that never ends. We've got to focus on the root cause. So we started Ambassador Compassion in 2010, and how does the program work? Well, it starts with a 2-hour kickoff in schools across the country. It's the RISE program for middle school, which is responsibility, initiative, service, and expectations. For high school and college, it's life, labor. You identify your goals and dreams first. Influence, how culture influences your life, how people influence your life, and how you have the power to influence others. In forgiveness, we teach students how to face it, release it, replace it. And experiences is how negative experiences don't have to destroy your life, and learning from the experiences of others. These kickoffs start the emotional resiliency building program and creates connection for students. We've been doing that since 2010. Now, what's interesting, the CDC just came out and said emotional resiliency and connection are protective factors for the promotion of positive behaviors and suicide prevention. So it's powerful. Here's what it looked like. Rich was talking about Livermore Rotary Club and the tests that we did just a year ago. But here's what it looks like when we do a kickoff in schools. We did a kickoff last fall in New York, 2,300 students, pouring down rain. It was still spectacular. But here's what that kickoff looks like when we do a kickoff here.
And this Ambassadors of Compassion journey really is about taking something that isn't perfect, dealing with it in the right positive way. It's not about what happens to you. It's about how you handle it.
Anything you guys decide to put your mind to, it's going to be super difficult. You're going to experience setbacks, you're going to experience adversity, but as long as you fight through it, you will be successful.
And you carry a dream in your heart that our nation and our world desperately need. But your generation's facing challenges, and you're going to have to rise and take responsibility if you're going to reach your goals and dreams.
You gotta keep on fighting. You gotta be your biggest influencer to yourself. I'm here to tell you guys, I'm an ambassador of compassion. I love you guys. If I could do it, you guys could do it.
So the kickoffs are powerful, but they're not just talking heads. There are circles of 5, well 6 really, a student leader who's trained to be a facilitator, and 5 students. So if you imagine a football field with circles all over it. So when somebody talks about forgiveness, then they have to go for 15 minutes in their group, each person in their group, who hurt them, what have they done, why would they forgive them? Before you can teach how to face it, release it, replace it, you gotta understand that sometimes we use forgiveness as self-protection, right? We think forgive and forget, and so we say, well, I'm not gonna forgive because I could forget and it could happen again. So students learn that they have issues in that, and then they go back for another 9 weeks in small groups and stay in those small groups, incredibly connected. And what David said earlier about loneliness, what it does to battle loneliness is significant because these students are in a safe place every single week for 10 weeks talking about the deepest things facing their life. And they have a safe place, they're able to talk, and it changes lives, along with journals and calls to action every single week. So the small groups follow the kickoff. It deepens the emotional resilience and connection in the lives of students. And this is interesting, again, CDC 2023. Building emotional resilience and connection during adolescence has a protective, long-lasting effect on many adult health outcomes, including less emotional distress, less suicidal thoughts, less physical violence and victimization, less prescription and illicit drugs. So we're not just helping students now, we're preparing them for life. That's the great thing about the data that we're seeing is that if they can get this and learn this and process while they're young, it will go with them when they're older. So for 9 weeks, after it's 10 weeks total, the kickoff, students work through with their volunteer coaches, like we did with Rich in Livermore Valley. Rotary came in once a week, every single week, and in between that, they had journals they worked through with real-life calls to action, and they're held accountable. And why is that important? Because information is the illusion to transformation. I want to say that again. Information is the illusion to transformation. When you read something, hear somebody speak, hear a podcast, we actually fire endorphins into the back of our brain, and we feel change for about 2 or 3 days. But if we don't participate with that information, it wears off and nothing happens. So just like when you play a sport, if you just watch a video and then go out and try to beat the championship team, you'll get crushed. If you watch a video on playing a violin, but you don't participate, you'll never get good. The soul's the same way, the heart's the same way. When there's calls to action every week and the students are held accountable, it begins to be woven into their cells and organs and you begin to rewrite neurotransmitters. It's a really, really powerful concept. Quick story, Yusel Ochoa. Yusel was from Moreno Valley. They call it Murder Valley because an average of 9 students in gangs are killed each month. She got kicked out of 16 schools. Sometimes got in a fight, she said, every day, sometimes twice a day. The last school she got kicked out for punching the teacher in the face. Yeah. They asked her to come back on one condition. You had to go through the Ambassador Compassion Program. She spent 2 days thinking about the opportunity. She came in, and the very first day, you had to identify a dream for your life. Week 1. She identified she wanted to be a law enforcement officer, if you can believe that. In week 2, you have to identify the people that could keep you from your dream that you need to remove, and those that support it and bring into your life. And she realized if she became a law enforcement officer, she'd have to arrest half of her family, who were huge in the gangs. She decided that day to do it. She went on and graduated with a 4.0, went to the University of Alabama, graduated with honors, and now is becoming a law enforcement officer. And we have thousands of stories like that. And to my great excitement, my wife and I produced the Rotary Lombardi Awards for CBS for 4 years, before we were even involved in this to this level. And I got Rudy from the real-life movie Rudy to give her the Ambassador Compassion Leadership Award for Perseverance on CBS with the Rotary Lombardi Award. So it's so nice to be able to do full circle. But we have so many wonderful stories like that. Then the students have service projects, and they get involved in something bigger than themselves. Quick story, Richard talked about Principal Garza in Livermore. She said George, she has so many stories, but George was getting all Fs. He was in her office at least twice a week. She shared this last week when we were together at another presentation with Rotary District 5170. And she said about halfway through the program, his grades started to increase. By the time the program was over, the lowest grade he had was a C, and everything else was above it. And he was in gangs, and he was a real problem, she said, when she talked about George. Interestingly, for the service project, George had a great idea. He said, Mrs. Garza, we have these bathrooms that are graffitied constantly in their school. He goes, can I get some paint, bring all the students together, and paint it? And she said, no, at first, because I don't know if I should trust you with paint. He kept pushing her and pushing her. She finally agreed, and they painted all the bathrooms white and put logos and murals with school spirit. She said 2 months after the program, no graffiti. Beginning of the year, no graffiti. And as of last week, no graffiti. The same walls that the students were putting graffiti on, now they're defending because they took ownership of them. And she said now George and the family actually moved out because his grades got so good, and they separated from the gang members in the family, and she just talked to him a couple weeks ago, and he's doing all A's in high school. So again, it's not just now, it's long term, right? Purpose, right? I view it like this. We all have soil. Sometimes the soil gets stones in it. Sometimes they get weeds in it. It gets weeds. And if you can clean the rocks out, clean the weeds out, soil's good, and it will rise up. It will be very powerful. I love what Principal Gaza said. She said, to Rich's point, every week we get somebody saying, we're going to come and save your students. She said last week, after a year of contemplating why this is so successful, she goes, I finally figured it out. And she said this, you didn't come to say you're going to save my students. You show students how to save themselves. And that's the difference, right? Then you own it. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So the kickoff, what you saw, starts, and it's very powerful in schools. But now the Ambassadors Program is being launched in pro and college stadiums across the nation because the needs are so great. There's desperation out there. So far, the Chiefs, Dolphins, Astros, Diamondbacks, Boise State, Fresno State, SoFi Stadium. We're launching 3,000 students at the Rose Bowl this summer. The program is accredited for 10 credits during the summer in the state of California. And why the kickoffs? Well, because the stadium kickoff events bring business and government leaders, schools and media outlets to rally around the mental and emotional health of our youth while connecting students with each other, the Rotarians involved. We really believe when we see Rotarians volunteering and changing these young students' lives that they will and need to become Rotarians, because a world without Rotary is not a world I want to be in. So we want to help get young Rotarians whose lives have been changed by you volunteering if you choose to be part of this. So Rotary and Ambassadors will host the largest mental and emotional resiliency building kickoffs in the nation across the Bay Area, along with District 5170 and 5150. This is a model. Yes, thank you. This is a model for the whole nation. We have cities all over the country, and they're looking at what we do here because there's desperation everywhere. And when we do it here, we have 9 other cities that are ready to go across the country with executive directors. And so when we do this, like I said, they are watching, and it's exciting because the whole nation is waiting for something, a solution, and that's what we get to talk about together. 10,000 students starting this fall. We were originally going to do 10,000 this fall at the 49ers, but now across the Bay Area, people are telling us, can we do it in different stadiums? So this year will be 10,000 students, about 3 or 4 different stadiums this year, and then in the following year, we'll be able to come together even more significant. So public school, charter school, private schools from across the Bay Area. So imagine pro and college athletes, cheerleaders, city leaders, and Rotarians honor the students as they walk the red carpet into the stadium. Students will continue their 10-week Ambassadors program back in the school, and the Ambassador Stadium kickoff events is a catalyst that brings together students from every demographic, social, economic background, and does truly convene the city. And it gets tremendous media coverage, so we can say Rotary and Ambassadors of Compassion are making a difference on the mental health of this generation right here in the Bay Area. And we want Rotary to get the attention it deserves because you do amazing things, but we want to supply that media attention to you because you deserve it. And that's what a partnership does. We're ready to scale across the Bay Area. These are just some of the men and women who've helped us. Wayne Huizenga, owner of the Miami Dolphins, Jerry Colangelo, Sons Diamondback, Craig Cheek, global head of Nike, Spencer Tillman, captain of the 49ers when they won the Super Bowl. We have Admirals and Leroy Mitchell, Cinemark Theater. And these are just some of the 57 pro and college teams that have allowed us to get here. As of 2 weeks ago, the 49ers have officially come on board, as well as the Warriors, to be able to offer their stadium for students to do kickoffs there as well. as we wrap up, how can we make a difference together, a measured difference together? Because Rotary works, ambassadors work, and we put this together, it will have a measured impact on the Bay Area. Well, the first thing is Rotary recruitment power of schools. If you know any schools, superintendents, coaches, let us know. Our staff is ready to serve, and we will open up those schools and put them in the pipeline for what we do together. Rotary funding power. We've been able to get this down to just $12 a week for students now. So we're looking to see if, and it's already starting to happen in District 5170, $60 a student, $6 a week for a club to be involved, and then we look to other businesses to supply the other $60. And about 250 students becomes the tipping point in a school. That's where, like in New York, the superintendent said, that's where it begins to change the culture on our campus. It's a tipping point. You don't have to have every student at first to begin to change the culture on the campus. And then Rotary recruitment power of businesses. If you know any businesses that would want to benefit from this, that we can give added value that could cover the other $60, let us know. We'll work with them and we'll service them. And then finally, volunteer power. Being able, it's 1 hour a week. That's it. 1 hour a week to do this is all it takes. So if you're interested in that, let us know. And then finally, attend the citywide stadium events. Support the students. Be there on the red carpet as they come in to change their lives and begin to change their community. It's an honor to be here with you today. And a new member. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.